welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're immersing ourselves in a really fascinating piece of channeled communication.
Absolutely. We're looking at session 95 of the Law of One.
And this isn't just, dry information. It feels like a profound look into consciousness, spirituality, the whole structure of reality.
It really is. And session 95 has this remarkable blend. You get practical advice like how to energetically cleanse a space.
Right, very hands-on stuff.
And then it swings into these deep metaphysical concepts. We're talking spiritual evolution, catalyst, how our experiences shape us.
Exactly. So our goal with this deep dive is to really unpack this session. We'll go question by question.
Trying to pull out the key insights, aiming for clarity, and, keeping it positive.
Definitely. It's all about exploring that interconnectedness, that idea beautifully captured in Namaste.
I am you, and you are me.
Perfect way to frame it. So with that spirit of unity, let's jump into session 95.
Okay, first things first, the check on the instrument.
All right, question 1, or 95.1. Just a routine check. And the answer is simple. It is as previously stated.
Which basically means the instrument's energetic state is stable, consistent.
Which is vital for the contact, right, for clear communication.
Absolutely. It's the foundation they check every single time.
Okay, moving to question 2, 95.2. The questioner asks about a fifth density negative associate.
Right. So for anyone maybe less familiar, densities are like stages of spiritual growth or consciousness.
And fifth density is quite advanced.
It is. So a fifth density negative associate is an entity at that advanced level, but focused on service to self, their own power, their own agenda.
Not service to others.
Exactly. And Ra's response here is that, yes, this entity is actively pursuing its goals, using effective means.
But here's the really interesting part, I think.
Go on.
Ra specifically says these actions are not actually stopping the group. They're not diminishing their dedication to service to others.
Precisely. Or their harmony with each other. And because of that strong positive field the group holds,
Yeah.
Aro notes the negative entity is becoming somewhat depolarized on balance.
Depolarized, meaning
Its negative focus is getting weaker, less intense, because it's constantly bathed in this positive energy.
wow, so a sustained positive environment can actually subtly influence negativity, even at that level.
That seems to be the implication, a really powerful idea for, how we navigate our own interactions too.
Definitely a valuable takeaway there. Okay, question 3, 95.3, gets very practical. The group is moving house.
Right, and they need to know how to properly close off the room they've been using for the Ra contact, ritually speaking.
So what does Ra suggest?
They advise removing the charging of distortion towards sanctity from the room, and also to a lesser extent from the whole house.
Charging towards sanctity, meaning
Yeah.
the energy built up from their work.
Exactly. Their focused spiritual practice has, imbued the space with a specific energetic signature. It's consecrated, in a way.
So how do they deconsecrate it? Release that charge.
Ra gives them two options. They can write their own ritual, their own working,
Make it personal.
or they can use existing rituals, like ones from churches designed for that kind of purpose.
Interesting flexibility. It's the intention that matters most.
That seems to be the key. Whether it's a custom ritual or an established one, the focused intent is what does the work.
Makes sense. So, question 4, 95.4, preparing the new place, but also dealing with the energy of the current place they're leaving.
Yeah, the group mentions their plans for the new room cleaning, fixing things up, using the banishing ritual of the lesser pentagram.
Standard magical hygiene, you could say.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Good steps for a clean slate. But Ray's response actually focuses more on the current dwelling they're leaving.
Oh, why?
Because Ra scanned the questioner's recent memory and picked up on some less than harmonious interaction within this dwelling.
So arguments or tensions.
Seems like it. And the energetic impact was apparently strong enough to attract what Ra calls a lesser thought form.
Oof. That really shows how sensitive our spaces are to our emotions, doesn't it?
It really does. Our interactions leave an energetic residue.
So what does Ra recommend to clear that out before they leave?
A pretty thorough cleansing ritual. It involves salt and ritually blessed water
Okay, where do they use it?
on all the windows and doorways leading into the house, and any outbuildings too.
And then there's the garlic. That's intriguing.
Yes. Cut garlic cloves need to be hung in specific places.
Where exactly?
Two main spots. The wet bar area.
Interesting choice. Why there?
Ra doesn't elaborate fully, but suggests such areas can sometimes hold lower vibrations. And the other spot is the bedroom near the kitchen.
Okay. And how long does the garlic stay up?
For about 36 hours. Ra specifies 2 night periods and 1 lit period. And while hanging it, they should use appropriate words to bid farewell to those of the lower astral.
Bidding farewell. So the garlic helps unwanted energies leave.
That's the idea. Ra says its purpose is to signal their departure, acting as a kind of repellent or directional guide.
And the overall goal of this whole salt, water, garlic thing.
To neutralize the dwelling's vibrations, to clear the slate energetically before they hand it over, basically.
And Ra even suggests talking to the house itself.
Yeah, addressing the living entity of the dwelling, asking it to welcome vibrations of harmony, love, thanksgiving. It's a fascinating view of our homes as energetically responsive.
It really makes you think differently about your living space. Okay, question 5, 95.5, the nitty-gritty, how to prepare the blessed water and do the salting.
Right. The blessed water, Rouse says, can be self-blessed through intention.
Or you could get it from a church or a holy site.
Exactly. A place where water has already been blessed with intention. Then you sprinkle it.
Oh, just splash it around.
No, more carefully, shaking it from the fingers along the sills of opened windows and doors.
Got it. And the salt, where does that fit in?
The salt goes down first. You trail a continuous line of salt along those same sills before sprinkling the water.
Okay, salt first, then water. And how long does the salt stay there?
Between 36 and 48 hours.
And after that?
Then you swoop it up. But importantly, using a virgin broom.
A brand new broom, one never used for regular cleaning.
Exactly. Ra emphasizes this is important for its efficacy. You use this new broom to ritually sweep the salt outwards, away from each opening.
Sweeping away the salt and any lingering, less fortunate vibrations.
That's the phrase Ra uses. It symbolizes a complete energetic clearing, a fresh start.
Okay, question 6, 95.6, just clarifying. Does the salting apply to interior doors too, or only outer ones?
Only outer doors, Ra confirms.
So main entrances, back doors, maybe patio doors.
That seems right. Interestingly, Ra mentions they can't fully explain the full magical nature of salt, water, and garlic within the constraints of the contact.
Oh, but they give some hints.
They do. They say salt, when it gets wet from the blessed water, can absorb the vibrations you ask it to, like it holds the intention.
Okay, and the garlic's role? Again?
It has a negative attraction for service to self-astral forms. Basically, they don't like being around it. It encourages them to leave.
Makes sense. And Ra reminds them again, use a clean, virgin broom.
And crucially, burn the garlic after the 36 hours are up.
Burn it, that sounds final, like sealing the deal.
It does feel like a definitive act of completion, doesn't it? Releasing those energies completely.
Right. So, question 7, 95.7. The questioner basically summarizes the whole process. Garlic, salt, water, sweeping to double-check they've got it right.
And importantly, asks for the specific words to use during each step of the ritual.
Because they weren't sure what to say for the farewell part.
Exactly. And Ross affirms the recap is accurate and then provides these really beautiful, specific invocations.
For each step. Laying salt, sprinkling water.
Yes. Hanging garlic, sweeping the salt, and even burning the garlic. Each one praises the one creator and blesses the element or action for its cleansing purpose.
Having those specific words must add a lot of focus and power to the ritual.
Definitely. It channels the intention very clearly.
Okay. Question 8, 95.8. A practical follow-up. Are there better spots for the garlic than just generally in the designated rooms? Like right over the windows?
Rouse says windows and doorways are the most appropriate spots. But then they add something else insightful.
What's that?
They suggest extending the salting and sprinkling, not the garlic, just salt and water to interior doors as well. Any door leading elsewhere in the house.
Why?
To discourage any unwanted entities from just, moving from one room to another within the dwelling.
Ah, so it prevents them from just relocating. That's thorough.
It really is a comprehensive approach to clearing the whole space.
Okay. Question 9, 95.9, is just confirming the garlic locations again, wet bar and that specific bedroom. Ross says, yes, that's correct.
Straightforward confirmation.
Then, question 10, 95.9, shifts to the new house. Which room is best for the raw contact there?
Ra's answer is interesting. They say once the old place is cleansed, it becomes as a virgin dwelling in the magical sense.
An energetic blank slate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the group is free to choose any part of the new home that feels right to them, whatever resonates.
No single best spot dictated by Ra.
Nope. Just choose what feels appropriate and prepare it using their familiar methods for the contact.
Good to know. It empowers their own intuition.
Hey.
Okay, question 11, 95.11. Thinking about the outside of the new place, the questioner assumes the surroundings, trees, fields are okay.
And Ra confirms, yes, the exterior environment is acceptable, but then they offer this lovely general principle.
Which is,
Prepare each part of your environment with beauty that resonates with each person in the group. Make it harmonious for you.
that's nice. It's about personal connection to the space.
And they specifically mention gardening, the blessing in caring for the surroundings.
Oh, yeah, the connection with nature.
Ra highlights that second density life plants, flowers, small animals. They're aware of that loving care and they return energy. There's a reciprocity.
Beautiful. Shows that interconnectedness again. Okay, question 12, 95.11. There are some old horse stalls at the new place. Do they need special energetic cleaning?
Ra scanned them and said, no, no undesirable negative energy stored there.
So just regular physical cleaning is enough?
Yep, that's what Ra advised. Simple physical cleaning will do.
Phew. One less magical task.
Yep.
All right, question 13, 95.13. The questioner asks if Ra has any other comments about the new location in general. Kind of an open-ended question.
And it prompts a really specific, quite unexpected piece of information from Ra.
Oh, what did they find?
Ra says they detected a concentration of negative thought patterns, not in the house, but outside, at a distance.
Abouts.
Approximately 45 yards away, on a bearing generally north, maybe slightly off north, north to 10 degrees off north, and it's like an irregular rectangular patch of energy.
Wow, that's incredibly specific. Negative thought patterns, like residue from previous inhabitants or events.
Ra doesn't specify the source, just notes its presence. And they give instructions to deal with it.
More garlic.
More garlic, but in a very particular way. They need to hang garlic beyond this area, about 60 to 70 feet past its far edge.
Okay, so roughly 57 yards from the house on that same bearing.
Right. And here's the really unique part. They need to create a garlic funnel.
A funnel made of garlic.
Yes. With the small end pointing south towards the house and the wider open end pointing north away from the house.
What's that supposed to do?
The idea is that the negative energies get drawn into the narrow end, and then they're transmuted or directed northwards away from the dwelling.
That is ingenious. And kind of tricky to build, maybe.
Ra even acknowledges it might require some ingenuity to suspend it properly.
I bet. So, question 14, 95.14. The questioner tries to figure this out. They imagine maybe a cardboard funnel and asks for clarification on the location measured from the front door.
Ra clarifies the measurement point was actually the other side of the dwelling, but they also say pinpoint accuracy isn't crucial here.
Why not?
Because these astral leavings are kind of diffuse, generalized. Close is good enough. They slightly adjust the bearing to maybe 10 degrees east of north to 5 degrees east of north.
Yeah.
But again, approximate is okay.
And the cardboard funnel idea, good or bad?
Less optimal, Ra says, because the garlic needs to be blown by the wind. A rigid structure wouldn't allow that.
It needs to interact with the elements.
Exactly. So Ross suggests stringing the garlic clothes between two posts. That creates the funnel shape but stays flexible.
Makes sense. Allows for airflow. So, question 15, 95.15. The questioner proposes a different structure. Maybe a cone made of chicken wire.
Right, with garlic attached, small end towards the house, open end away, strung between poles.
And Ra's verdict.
Appropriate. Ra confirms that method would work, and they add that this setup will help cleanse the whole property, the dwelling, and the acreage generally.
Okay. Anything else for the exterior?
One more suggestion. Walk the perimeter of the property
Just walk it.
while holding an open garlic clove, swinging it gently.
Like energetically sweeping the boundaries. Do they need to say anything?
Ra says no words are required unless they feel like repeating the garlic blessing words provided earlier. The act and intention are key.
Got it. Okay. Question 16, 95.16. Broadening out again. Are there any other preparations they can make for their general well-being, their beingness, and the Ra contact itself at the new place?
Ra says no more specific suggestions for the location itself, but they offer some general, very helpful practices.
Like what?
Simple, the profound things. Physical cleanliness, consciously working to remove disharmonious thoughts from their own minds.
In or work.
Exactly. And doing practices that increase their faith and their will for the spiritual work they're undertaking. Foundational stuff for creating a conducive atmosphere inside and out.
That's always good advice. Question 17, 95.17. Seeking reassurance, really. Will the contact be just as good in the new place once all this cleansing is done?
And Ra gives this beautiful, affirming answer. All places in which this group dwells in love and thanksgiving are acceptable to us.
Wow. So it's not about the physical place nearly as much as the group's inner state?
Precisely. Their collective heart space, their intention, their love and gratitude, that's what makes the connection strong.
That's really comforting. Okay, big shift in topic now. Question 1895.18, dreams. Is there a universal dream language?
Yeah, the questioner is asking about dream interpretation. Is it all personal, or are there common symbols?
And Rustic.
They say there's a partial vocabulary of the dreams, shared symbols, archetypes, stemming from our common heritage as mind-body-spirit complexes.
So some symbols might mean similar things for many people.
Yes. But overlaid on that is each person's unique dream vocabulary, built from their own specific life experiences, their incarnations.
And that personal layer grows bigger the more experiences we have.
That's what Ra suggests. So dream interpretation involves understanding both the universal and the deeply personal symbolic language.
Fascinating. A mix of both. Okay, question 19, 95.19. This goes back to an earlier discussion about the difference in how information was exchanged before the veil of forgetting versus after.
Right, using the specific example of an immature male and female feeling that random red ray sexual arousal, how would they communicate pre-veil?
Reveal, prevail. Communication would likely have been very direct about satisfying that physical impulse first.
Deal with the biological urge immediately.
Pretty much. Then other information like introductions or names could follow clearly without confusion. So what's the point of comparing this to our post-veil experience?
Ra uses it to highlight how insignificant the catalyst, the opportunity for learning, was in that pre-veil scenario compared to now.
I guess it's just so straightforward.
Exactly. Post-veil, even that simple situation creates confusion, requires interpretation, navigating feelings, social norms, all that complexity.
And that complexity is the catalyst.
That's the key insight. Ross says the confusion itself shows the efficiency of the enlarged catalytic processes after veiling. The veil amplifies our learning opportunities through navigating these complex interactions.
So the veil isn't just a forgetting, it's an engine for growth. Wow.
It really reframes it, doesn't it?
It does. Okay, question 20, 95.20 builds on this. Post-veil, when we meet someone, we choose how to approach the interaction based on our past biases, our experience.
Right, linking it to card 4 of the major arcana, the experience of the mind. Our past choices and polarization, service to self or service to others, influence how we engage.
And this choice tends to create more catalyst along that chosen path.
Ra confirms that yes. Our choices, driven by past experience, tend to attract situations that give us more opportunities to learn and polarize further along our chosen path.
Makes sense. Like attracts like, in a way. Now, question 21, 95.21, looks closely at the imagery of card 4 again, specifically the skirt of the figure.
Yeah, the questioner observes it extends out to the left. They interpret this as symbolizing more separation from others if you choose the left-hand path.
Service to self, more separation.
And less separation if you choose the right-hand path, service to others.
And Rosh's response?
Just, the student is perceptive. So yes, a validated interpretation of that visual detail.
It's amazing how much meaning is packed into these archetypal images. Okay. Question 22, 95.22, still on card 4, looking at the black square and the white cat.
The questioner sees the mostly black square as representing the material illusion. Seems reasonable.
And the white cat, they see it as guarding the right-hand path, now that the paths are distinct in experience.
Ross says the student almost sees that which was intended. A gentle correction is coming. Ra points out that the polarities themselves don't need guardians. The paths just are.
So the cat isn't guarding the path itself.
Right. Ra then poses the question back, what then does need the guard?
Okay, leading question. So question 23, 95.23 offers the refined understanding.
Exactly. The entity walking the right-hand path is guarded. Guarded from the negative effects, the pull of the material illusion's polarity.
So it's protecting the seeker, not the path concept.
Precisely. And Ra confirms this is accurate. Then adds that the great cat, this protective influence, guards in direct proportion to the seeker's purity of intention and their inner work.
The more dedicated you are, the more support or protection you experience from illusion's downsides.
That seems to be the essence of it, protection for the journeyer.
That's a really important distinction. Now, question 24, 95.24 pushes this idea further. If someone approaches total purity on the right-hand path,
Service to others?
do they also approach total imperviousness to left-hand catalyst? Like negative stuff just doesn't affect them.
Ra's response here is powerful, exquisitely perceptive.
Wow. So is it true?
Yes, but with a crucial nuance. It's not about being shielded from difficult events happening externally. There's no outward shelter from catalyst.
Okay, so bad things can still happen to very positive people.
Yes. But the pure service to others seeker interprets everything through the lens of love and light.
They reframe it internally.
Exactly. Even what looks like the cruelest blow from the outside is seen internally as a challenge, an opportunity for compassion, for learning, for service.
So the protection is in the interpretation.
That's it. Ra calls it a great touch of light, protecting their understanding and interpretation of the catalyst. The event happens, but its meaning is transformed by their unwavering positive focus.
That is incredibly profound. It puts the power entirely within. Okay, question 2595.25. How does this apply to big, seemingly random events, like natural disasters, wars, things Ra calls random or programmed catalyst?
Yeah, how do these affect highly polarized people, positive or negative? And specifically for the positive path, does that great cat offer any protection from, say, an earthquake?
Good question. What does Ra say?
They outline two main ways protection might occur, but emphasize they're rare.
What are they?
One is a pre-incarnative choice, like a soul agreement made before birth, perhaps not to experience violent death, for example.
Okay, a pre-life plan.
The other is dwelling completely in unity, a state of consciousness where you're so identified with the one that the only harm is death, which is just seen as a transition, not an end or a tragedy.
But Ra says achieving that perfect state while in a human body is very rare.
Extremely rare in third density, yes. So generally, even highly positive people aren't magically shielded from random events by the cat.
Okay, so what about negatively polarized individuals?
Sorry,
Question Crummy 6, 95.26. Do they get any protection from random catalysts?
Ra's answer is clear. No, they have no protection beyond statistical probability.
They're just subject to the chances like anyone else.
Exactly. And Ra connects this to why some service to self-oriented people are very focused on finding secure physical locations, building bunkers, etc.
Because they intuitively know there's no inherent spiritual protection on that path from random events.
That seems to be the implication. They rely on material means because the spiritual support isn't there in the same way.
Fascinating contrast. Okay, question 27, 95.27. Back to the tarot card imagery. Card 4. The questioner notes the right angles in the card's geometry.
And connects them to the concept of the tesseract, which Ray discussed earlier, representing transformation from space-time to time-space.
And maybe even a link to the crux ansata, the Ankh symbol.
Right. It's a very perceptive observation about the angularity. Ray confirms this insightfulness.
What do the right angles signify here?
Transformation. Ray explains that images related to transformation of mind, body, spirit, and the great choice of polarity often use geometry like this with increasing intensity.
To represent the power of the concept.
Exactly. Each image with these angles, Raz says, increasingly represents an opportunity. An opportunity for the adept to use their resources, like experience, a card 4, to work towards transformation, using the spirit's link to intelligent infinity.
It's all pointing towards that potential for conscious evolution.
Absolutely. And right after explaining this, Ron notes that this has to be the last query. Transferred energy is waning.
A fittingly profound point to end the main Q&A on. So final question, 2895.28, is the usual check-in.
Right, asking about the instrument's comfort and how to improve the contact.
And Ra's assessment.
They note a slight worsening of some physical distortions on the instrument's dorsal side.
Oh dear. Why?
They attribute it to the initial use of the swirling waters, the hydrotherapy. It seems the muscles are adjusting, and it might temporarily accentuate discomfort before it helps.
Like therapeutic soreness.
Possibly. Ra encourages continuing the swirling waters, though, and mentions full immersion is best if possible.
And a request for the support group.
Yes, to help the instrument conserve physical energy during the upcoming packing and moving. A practical reminder.
But overall, the alignments are good.
Alignments are excellent. All is well energetically. That's the reassurance.
Good. And the final words from Ra in this session.
A beautiful closing. We leave you glorying in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the mighty peace of the one infinite creator. Adonai.
Adonai. Wow, what an incredibly dense and multifaceted session that was.
It really covers so much ground, doesn't it? From detailed instructions for hanging garlic.
Right. The practical magic of home cleansing.
All the way to the deepest insights about how we learn from experiences, the nature of polarity, and the protection offered by purity of intent.
It truly shows that blend we talked about at the start. The tangible and the metaphysical deeply interwoven.
And I think for anyone listening, the takeaways are huge. Practical tips for creating harmonious spaces, yes, but also a deeper framework for understanding why things happen in our lives.
Understanding catalyst, Understanding our choices on the path.
Exactly. And even when discussing negative influences or difficult events, the underlying perspective in the Law of One always feels positive, hopeful, focused on growth.
It really was. It never feels fear-based. It's about understanding the dynamics to navigate them with love and wisdom.
Which kind of invites us to think about our own spaces, doesn't it? Our homes, our workplaces.
Mm.
What kind of energy are we cultivating?
And how are we interpreting our own life challenges? Are we seeing them as blows or as catalysts, as opportunities?
That's the provocative thought, maybe. How can we apply that great pitch of light perspective to our own experiences?
Yeah. It really brings us back full circle, doesn't it, to that core idea.
Namaste.
I am you and you are me. It encourages us to keep exploring these ideas, seeing how they resonate in our own search for knowledge and understanding.
Absolutely. We hope this deep dive has offered some valuable insights for you, the listener. We certainly encourage further exploration of the Law of One material.
Thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive today. Until next time, may your journey be filled with love and light.